So I'm going to tell you a story and then we're going to relate it to life. And it's actually a super important life lesson. So I have these computers here, and these are just desktop computers, but I bought them about 7 years ago, I think, 8 years ago. At the time, I had an office lease that included, for my company, that included electricity. And I saw these machines and that they had beefy video cards, and I thought, I could mine Bitcoin on these things 24/7. And I calculated that at the time they would earn about $2 a day in Bitcoin. And because the electricity wasn't paid by me, that meant $2 in profit a day. I had to calculate the cost of the machines, which I think were about $1,500 a piece when I bought them, maybe $17. And there was a payoff schedule, and I thought, yeah, okay, this is a great idea. So I bought them and did that for the years that it applied. And then when I shut down my lease and moved my company into my home, I didn't have that same situation. Also, over time, that $2 dropped to about 40 cents a day-ish due to a bunch of changes that I had no way of expecting. So I was faced with a decision of whether or not to keep running these things. And you can hear them running now, which tells you what I decided. So it turns out that if I run these in my house as a source of heat, they're equivalent energy-wise to a space heater, but they pay for the electricity that they use. It's actually just about 1 for 1. And so in the winter time, we will have these things running to produce heat in our house. And then the Bitcoin it mines, I can sell and use to pay our electric bill. So not counting the cost of the machines, which already paid for themselves back when they were earning a lot more money and when I wasn't paying the electricity to run them, the heat is free. It's not absolutely free because unfortunately these are Windows machines, and if any of you use Windows, you know what that entails. It's a pain in the butt. But effectively, it's free heat because the machines are already paid for. Now, I know exactly how much energy these things use because I have that thing, I don't know if you can see it, I'll turn the light on, that tells me exactly how many kilowatt hours it uses. And so I know what it costs to run it. What are the lessons from this? Well, first off, what things do you have in your life that are already paid for? You know, if you have some piece of heavy equipment, like a dump trailer or a backhoe, maybe you had to buy that for a certain project, and the question is it sitting idle? And if it is, what could you use it for? Because the overhead is already covered, right? So once you cover your costs, everything else is profit. Now, it's never quite that clean because if you use it for another job, it's more wear and tear on the machine. Maybe you have to pay somebody to operate it. You need to spend time moving it around, whatever. But the point is, some of those costs are already covered. And does that change the cost-benefit equation for other use? Leveraging overhead is a very important way to get more value out of your life. And very, very, very few people do this. I already had these machines. I wouldn't buy them again today, but since I have them, I can use them, and I can't sell them. I tried, so I may as well just use them as long as the value of the Bitcoin that's mined is roughly equivalent to the electricity that's used. At least, right? What other lesson is here? If I didn't know what these things cost and I was just flying by the seat of my pants, I'd have no idea if it were a good idea or not, if it were a profitable thing to do or not. Do you know the cost of the decisions that you make, the actions that you choose? Do you have a clear understanding of the options available to you? Very few people do these things accurately. Very few people do these things rationally. Most normal people would think it's a little crazy to have 5 to 10 desktop computers running like a jet engine in your basement or in a bonus room on your top floor. But that's exactly what we do because it makes total sense. So it's very important to get a grip on what options you have available to you and what the cost and benefit of each are. So much of your life is just autopilot, doing what other people do. You should do an audit of your life and go through a typical day or a typical week and look at how you spend your resources, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, how you make decisions, and crank up the intentionality of what you do. And think about why you do it. And think about if there are better ways to do it. If you're bold enough, find someone who you think would have an opinion worth hearing about those questions and involve them in those decisions. They might give you feedback on things that you don't even think of are options. They might radically improve your life by giving you the eyes to see things that you're currently blind to. We live on the tail end of a time of unprecedented prosperity, and that prosperity gives us surplus, unearned surplus. That time is coming to an end. And as that surplus dwindles down, what I'm telling you will become more and more important. You are going to have to become much better at managing your resources than you are right now. And you're going to have to learn to make much better decisions than you do right now. And to spend your time in much higher value ways than you do right now. And to break out of this cycle of just being a lemming or a sheep and following what everyone around you does without thinking about it and asking, is this really the best thing I could be doing? And what are the other options? What's the cost and benefit of everything? Looking towards the long term and optimizing your life. So that meter doesn't exist for real life. It just exists for appliances, anything with a plug. This is your meter for real life. And you need to learn to use it more than you do right now.